A huge tiger went on the attack against a bull. The grass was too short for a proper ambush, and the hoofed animal noticed the threat, recoiled, and increased the distance. But then the bull made a fatal mistake. It underestimated the panther, turned around, and went for a frontal attack to gore the tiger. The striped cat could only be glad that the opponent made such a foolish mistake. Just do it. At the moment of impact, the tiger skillfully intercepted the enemy and, like a judoka, threw the bull over its shoulder. Then the panther pounced on the opponent, immobilized it with the phenomenal strength of its paws, clamped its jaws on the trachea, and suffocated it. We will show other instances where big cats demonstrated that they should not be underestimated. Baboons are very dangerous and fierce primates, armed with unexpectedly powerful fangs. An enraged baboon can even make an inexperienced lioness retreat. Moreover, they gather in packs that can number several dozen individuals. But tangling with this leopard was a big mistake. He single-handedly stood against an entire clan of primates. Notice how he scatters many enemies with powerful blows. The leopard was attacked from all sides, but the panther demonstrated its indomitable power. At the same time, the spotted beast did not allow itself to be deprived of mobility or overwhelmed by numbers. The leopard found the perfect moment to retreat, broke free from the clutches of its enemies, and managed to create distance, leaving behind injured primates. Wild dogs may not impress with their size, but they are very dangerous and formidable predators due to their high intelligence, impressive speed, endurance, and most importantly, their numbers. In a pack of these hunters, there can be several dozen. They can pose a threat to a lone lioness, attack gangs of hyenas, and it seems that when these hungry dogs devour their prey, no one dares to disturb them, except for the leopard, of course. The lazy day. A brave and resourceful leopard single-handedly attacked a pack of wild dogs. This spotted beast rushed into the thick of the enemies. Yes, the leopard is a very strong animal, especially for its weight class. It can jump to a height almost twice that of a human's height. With one blow, it can break a gazelle's spine or scalp a dog in a couple of moments of a fight. What charging into the crowd seems just foolish. He will simply be torn apart. He will manage to take down at most one or two opponents with him. But it turned out that the leopard is much smarter and more cunning than it might seem at first glance. Immediately after the attack, the dogs scattered in all directions. They rushed off instinctively without analyzing the situation. The dogs might have realized that the cat was essentially bluffing and couldn't harm them, but the dogs were engrossed in their meal, so they didn't notice the approach of the leopard, who is also famous for its stealth and ambush skills. And since the dogs are not very large, their first reaction to an attack is to retreat, then regroup and attack as a pack. But the leopard did not pursue them individually, try to separate them, or attack one by one. I didn't come here to beat up the dogs at all. Perhaps he even likes them. After all, thanks to them, the panther now got a free meal. All of this was the intrigue of the leopard, whom these dogs clearly underestimated. The panther came here for the food of these dogs, and nothing more. The leopard took the food the dogs had honestly obtained, an antelope, and then ran away. Of course, wild dogs, like all canines, surpass felines in terms of endurance. These clever predators realized what happened and rushed to chase the hated cat, intending to tear it apart too, but the panther did not attack the competitors randomly. The leopard knew where to retreat and immediately climbed up the tree trunk, reaching a height inaccessible to its enemies. Of course, he had the antelope carcass in his mouth, but one should not forget the strength of this beast and its impressive agility. Oh, the leopard pulled out its stolen prey right under the dogs' noses. The dogs acted quickly, but it was not enough. The leopard is already safe. He can climb trees so well thanks to his suitable physique. Oh, shoopity! He is muscular yet very flexible, and he also has retractable, long, and always sharp claws. The dogs could only growl and bark under the tree while the leopard calmly devoured their prey right in front of those he had just robbed. Dogs cannot climb the trunk. Guarding the leopard is just foolish. The antelope will last him for several days, and in the worst case, he could just wait until the dogs get distracted, then jump down and disappear into the thickets. For the spotted panther, this is a victory. She got a great portion of food with just 2 jumps. Such efficiency and cunning deserve your like, right? A huge, hungry lion was roaming its territory, clearly in search of adventure, and then it saw an oryx antelope. There is a myth that male lions do not hunt and only sleep for 20 hours a day. This, of course, is not true. The lion is not only the main protector of the pride from other predators, but also a magnificent, strong, and experienced hunter. Male lions rarely pursue prey and attack only situationally. Why? It's not about laziness, of course. Lions have a magnificent mane that hinders their ability to camouflage and use their usual ambush tactics. That is the primary tactic of this type of predator. However, when it comes to challenging prey like a young elephant, rhinoceros, or giraffe, it is the lions that are the pride's main weapon. Here the situation is even more unusual. The male is alone, and no one will help him set up an ambush. No one will bring him prey. But it turned out that in this case, the victim almost walks right into the lion's paws. This experienced predator managed to use the surrounding vegetation to get significantly closer to the antelope. After that, the lion charged in for the attack. She probably noticed the lion quite a while ago, but underestimated his bravery, and it was already too late for her to retreat. Another predator would hardly dare to attack this hoofed renegade alone. The lion's target was one of the most dangerous and powerful antelopes in the world, the oryx. Many hoofed animals are merely prey for panthers, not dangerous opponents. Instances where wildebeests or zebras fight back against lions do occur, but they are much rarer than panic-driven escapes. An oryx antelope is a completely different matter. Listen, this type of hoofed animal is considered one of the most dangerous, fierce, and tough fighters in its weight class. Oryx almost always tries to fight back against lions, leopards, and any other predators, retreating only if the opponent has an overwhelming numerical advantage. This animal is characterized by a tough nature, fearlessness, and the ability to stand up to large predators thanks to its suitable arsenal. The oryx has long, almost straight horns with very sharp tips. With them, the hoofed animal can stab not only forward but also backwards. If a predator jumps on its back, the oryx will simply raise its head several times, thus driving the tips of its horns deep into the opponent's body. Stab wounds are much more dangerous than slashing ones, as they can severely damage internal organs. For example, if an oryx's opponent gets a wound in the abdomen and the horns pierce the intestines, the predator will retreat and flee. It will survive for a few days, but then the infection leads to fatal consequences. And if the horns hit the lungs or heart, the oryx will finish off the enemy on the spot. And although the skin of lions is tough, it still takes experience and courage to dare to attack such an opponent. Here, the antelope noticed the approaching predator and aimed its horns directly at its head.
The oryx's horns are effective both in attack and defense. The great length of the horns allows the oryx to protect its neck from attacks from above and behind. But the lion knows this well and decides to make an unexpected maneuver. At the last moment, the lion avoided the antelope's horns, jumped back, and conserving energy for acceleration, struck her in the side. If the lion had done this even a second slower, the oryx would have caught him on her horns, and then the lion would have at least lost an eye. Perhaps considering the speed of the collision, the sharp tip of the opponent's weapon could pierce the cat's skull. The predator's courage commands respect, as does its skill. A tense struggle begins. The lion is very large and strong, but the oryx is also one of the largest antelopes on the planet. The panther found itself in a difficult position, but its calculation paid off. The lion managed to grab its enemy's throat from below. It was extremely risky considering the impressive strength of the oryx, which was trying to simply trample the opponent. However, the powerful and agile paws of the lion blocked the herbivore's attacks, and the predator's jaws tightened around the throat with each passing second. The lion hit the trachea precisely, which was the main prize for him. The lion blocked the hoofed animal's access to oxygen, so the oryx's strength was leaving it with each passing second. To bring down such a beast usually required the efforts of several lionesses. But this time the lion managed on his own, then successfully finished off the opponent. If the antelope had tried to run away immediately after the predator appeared, it would have had a chance. But it chose to fight, and although the lion was close to receiving serious injuries several times, he managed to prevail and remain completely unharmed. Lionesses can be proud of such a provider. The duel of these lions is incredibly dynamic and brutal. The rivals tore at each other with claws, delivering fierce blows, but then the fight transitioned to grappling on the ground. The lion that remained standing loomed over the opponent and tried to fully exploit this tactical advantage. He sank his fangs into the enemy's throat and tried to tear it apart, but the enraged male underestimated his opponent. He tangled with the wrong big cat, one that couldn't be easily and quickly finished off. It turned out that the defending lion only gained an advantage when it went into a lying position. A small amount of time was given to him by his own mane. Strangely enough, its thick hair provides quite effective protection against the fangs of other predators. And now you see this soft and fluffy armor in action. The aggressor cannot finish off the opponent. The lion laying on its back actively switches to a counterattack. It withstood the initial onslaught and used all four paws at once. That's exactly what this defensive stance is for. A terrifying roar echoes throughout the area. While the lions strike each other, they claw and bite at the body, head, and limbs of their opponent. The lion, who was desperately defending against the enemy, grabbed him with his front paws and did not push him away, but rather pulled him closer to then hit his face with the back paws again and again. These blows are not only very dangerous for the eyes, but also cause the aggressive lion wild pain. Fortunately, the brutal predatory tactic proved effective. The aggressor, although he was a step away from victory, was not willing to pay for it with a torn face, broken jaw, or eyes. Therefore, he releases the enemy. When the lions realize they cannot quickly finish the fight in such a position, they stand up and start roaring at each other, trying to intimidate and drive the opponents away. Finally, the aggressor, who was a step away from victory, retreats, and the lion that managed to escape can take a breather. The number of lions and lionesses in a pride can vary significantly depending on a number of circumstances, such as the size of the territory, the food supply, and how and by whom the pride was formed. But usually there are at least 3 or 4 females per male. However, such a pride is considered small. Often the leaders of a pride of predatory cats are 2 or 3 males. Typically, they are brothers or members of a coalition who joined together in adolescence, traveled together across the savannah, and then conquered a pride for themselves. They were simultaneously expelled from their native pride. They went through many trials together and now are also conquering a new home together. Sometimes 2 brothers can attack in succession. 2 small prides can deal with the leader of each by attacking the loners together and then unite their territories.
If you want to learn more about the Game of Thrones in the world of lions, in the others effect of predators, then write about it in the comments.
One of the coolest, most hardcore and brutal stories related to this topic truly looks cinematic. Coalitions of lions can vary in number, but a gang of 4 males is already considered very large. So there was a unique coalition that broke all the rules. 6 huge and strong lions joined together. How? It remains a mystery, but interestingly, within the coalition there was a hierarchy, and within the coalition there was a lion who was not related to any other male.
6 males, under the leadership of an experienced and mighty leader, essentially formed a small army, and they were not going to be satisfied with conquering just one, even if large pride.
No, they fought for years with all the surrounding packs of predators, gradually dealing with all competitors, starting from small prides with a single leader, and ending with truly formidable enemies who could field a numerous squad against the Mapova coalition. And this coalition eventually won. Over some time, they conquered smaller prides, uniting vast territories into one super pride with several dozen lionesses. The battles were brutal and terrifying in their consequences. According to research, over several years of their conquests, they destroyed more than 100 other lions. This number included both males and cubs, as well as defiant females. Each lion in this coalition had a vivid individual character, but one lion stood out in particular, whom researchers nicknamed Mr. Tay. He was fearless like Kratos or another of your favorite characters from the most brutal video games, yet he was marked by fierce cruelty. The slightest disobedience and aggression he took as a personal insult and ruled his territory with an iron paw. Hunting the offspring of competitors is common practice among lions, as without this, a new leader will not be accepted. But Mr. Tay could also, for example, deal with a lioness from a recently conquered pride by simply breaking her neck for disobedience. When the Mapova coalition was actively conquering its territory, constantly taking over new prides, Mr. Tay's rage found an outlet, and his antics were tolerated. But when this fanged thug started frequently picking on the lionesses of his own pride, there were often conflict with other coalition members. He posed a threat to other females and cubs that were already born from Mr. Tay's companions. Naturally, this led to the collapse of the Mapogo coalition. When all competitors were defeated, partners and comrades in arms unexpectedly separated. And Mr. Tay behaved the most independently. He established his own pride in a remote part of the reserve with loyal females. This unique coalition of 6 experienced, battle-hardened, and super-strong lions was no longer made up of friends but just ordinary neighbors. They did not fight among themselves and fairly divided the vast territories. However, they were not quick to come to each other's aid in case of an external threat. Especially, no one intended to help the thug Mr. Tay. At first, this fierce lion felt free as his territory was far from the borders with outsiders. However, this male underestimated his rivals. When the Mapogo coalition was conquering territory, they engaged in epic battles with their defeated prides, but some lion cubs still managed to survive a disease. They were probably already adolescents by that time. Having managed to escape from the bloodthirsty Mr. T, these males united and traveled through the savannah for a long time. They went through many hardships, but became even stronger. They had to wait a long time for retribution, but they survived, grew stronger, honed their skills, and when they gained enough strength, they returned to the territory that long ago belonged to their clan. 4 young enraged lions decided to challenge their old enemy to a fight and take revenge on him. Amazingly, since these young males were specifically looking for Mr. T, avoiding clashes with other former members of the Mapogo coalition, there are simply no other explanations. A spectacular and epic battle between 5 lions began. Mr. T is not old at all. He is a fighter with vast experience, excellent skills, and fearlessness. It is not surprising that he resisted really desperately. He used all the skills and tactics he had acquired over years of wars with other prides. Predators exchanged powerful blows, tore at each other with claws, constantly maneuvering, reacting instantly to every move of the opponent. The young lions acted decisively and at the same time cautiously. Mr. T wanted to take at least one of them with him, but his enemies began their revenge with remarkable calculation. They jumped back in time, interrupted unsuccessful attacks, exhausted the enemy, and struck him from different sides. Mr. T growled and fought back, ignoring the pain. However, the numerical advantage, ability to coordinate actions, mutual support, strength of youth, and thirst for revenge proved stronger. One of the 4 managed to inflict fatal damage by biting the enemy right at the base of his spine. It was a terrible injury. Mr. T's hind legs failed. The old fighter, once formidable but now immobilized, had nowhere to run and no way to fight.
They finished him off, after which they began to rule in his pride.
Interestingly, after that, the neighbors lived with them in relative peace, even though they also belonged to the Mapogo coalition.
What case? Cheap, easy. Where big cats underestimated their enemies and paid for it surprised you the most? Share your opinion in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. Then you will be the first to see new stories about amazing animals.